Hi, I'm Seraphlor, and welcome to yet another video. Honkai Star Rail 3.7 is right around the corner, so let's go over what happened in the story, and we'll talk about what's coming next. Let's get started. The story picks up right after 3.5 left off with the defeat of Lygus, who we learn as Xander 1 Kuwabara, the founder of the Genius Society and the creator of Erudition. The Trailblazer, along with Hycelans, were ready to return Kefali's core flame and start Aranova. But the Trailblazer noticed something strange. The core flame of time, belonging to Orynyx? Who returned it? At the same time, from the Exomyth, Xandar, the Geniuses, and Cyrene discussed the possibility of the Remembrance and their children infiltrating Amphorius. After a lengthy back and forth that also involved the remnant of Anaxa within Xandar, we discovered that Cyrene disappeared. Back on Amphorius, Evernight appears before the Trailblazer. She applauds them for noticing the core flame of time wasn't returned. She tells the Trailblazer that March sacrificed herself to save them and Dan Heng, and that she will ensure March's wish for a Trailblazer journey without end becomes a reality. She uses March's Memoria to trap the Trailblazer in a dream. Meanwhile, we get a look at what happened to March 7th. She was lost in Amphorius, wandering around in a mimetic state, unable to interact with anyone. In a desperate bid to protect the Trailblazer and Dan Heng, March 7th offered all of her memories to Evernight, and Evernight took over. We switch POVs to Dan Heng, who wakes up in the parlor car, having no idea how he got back to the Express. He hears the voices of the others, but can't figure out what's going on. He then overhears Himiko and Black Swan talking about the memory zone of Amphorius, and Dan Heng becomes worried about March. He goes into her room to check on her, but realizes he's been set upon by a Memo Snatcher and their memes, and it is after he defeats them that Himiko and Black Swan are able to perceive him. Black Swan tells him about the situation, about how there's a person bearing March 7th's appearance who had taken the Trailblazer. Black Swan tells Dan Heng that with Herta's assistance, she's been able to get an idea on who's been meddling with the Remembrance. Through the fourth mirror, Black Swan learned of the Recollection's purpose in Amphorius. Black Swan reveals that the Garden of Recollection had been salvaging memories of a god's death in secret, by witnessing Iron Tomb's destruction of the Erudition and taking note of the cause and consequences of such a feat. Now, there was a seal, a firewall that prevented entry into Amphorius proper, but thanks to the Trailblaze, particularly March 7th, Dan Heng and the Trailblazer made it in. And it is also thanks to March 7th that Welt managed to find the Trailblazer and Dan Heng in Amphorius. Dan Heng makes it clear that he intends to return to Amphorius to rescue the Trailblazer in March. Skrulin warns him, however, that entry to Amphorius means he will lose communication with the outside world yet again, a risk Dan Heng gladly takes. In the meanwhile, the Geniuses and Sunday try to locate the Trailblazer trapped in the thick remembrance permeating Amphorius. With the Trailblazer, they are trapped in a dream Evernight sent them to, and despite Cyrene and Sunday's attempts at rescuing them, Evernight gained the upper hand. Evernight's power even eclipsed Sunday's power of harmony. However, underneath Evernight's nose, Cyrene happened to stumble upon an odd Memosprite with a peculiar color near a camera. With Black Swan, she began to wonder why the Memo Snatchers she had been investigating were reduced to nothing but husks. It is then that she discovers the consciousness in these bodies were forcibly removed, either through something else or by the Memo Snatchers' own volition. She discovered that these Memo Snatchers were up to on Amphorius. These were the group of Memo Snatchers searching for the Seed of Remembrance, and after what happened to them, Black Swan knew she'd be next. Unfortunately for her, Evernight was already waiting for her. Dan Heng returned to Amphorius and made contact with Lygus. Both of them entered an uneasy, temporary alliance, as the remembrance threatened to consume him. From what Lygus tells Dan Heng, Evernight is essentially the new Time Titan, and she can use the remembrance to erase the memory of anything she wants. Through this conversation with Lygus, Dan Heng learns of Finan's fate, and how Finan had created a seal with his blood that prevents the black tide from spreading in Inforius. He also learned that Finan even managed to wound Nanook himself. Dan Heng and Lygus managed to locate Kazlana, and through Kazlana, Finan's memories stirred. He vowed to use his power of destruction to open a path for Dan Heng, a path that takes him to the Grove of Epiphany. With the remembrance's power in disarray thanks to the destruction, Dan Heng ventured into the Grove, where he was set upon by a being claiming to be Terravox. Terravox claims that it was Evernight's scheming that saved him, and now he seeks the power of permanence within Dan Heng. Thanks to the remaining memoria, Dan Heng's memories had brought forth his past life, Dan Feng, and together they fought against the monsters and remnants of memoria, venturing deeper into the grove where they find Hycelins within the memories of the spirit water left behind. Hycelins explains that she was trying to locate the Trailblazer, but Terravox stood in her way, and now she joins Dan Heng in searching for both the Trailblazer and Terravox. During this long journey, Dan Feng's memories bring forth a scene from his past involving the High Cloud Quintet, and after witnessing his memories, Dan Feng expresses that he had no regrets over how things turn out. Dan Heng, witnessing his past life's resolve, also states that he too would sacrifice everything for the sake of his friends. Dan Heng and Hycelins came across the being claiming to be Terravox, who stated that they wanted the permanence in order to resurrect the real Terravox. As tensions rise, the true Terravox makes their presence known. They lay out the truth of their betrayal. They betrayed the Mountain Breaker, and it was Evernight who turned him into a memo sprite in exchange for keeping her presence hidden. Terravox's deception was so that all terrestrial beings could be saved and live on into Era Nova. Dan Heng makes a proposition to Terravox to take their core flame and use the permanence to bear the crucible of life within his body instead. After accepting the core flame of Earth, Dan Feng faded away, and Dan Heng can finally leave his shadow and step forward on his own permanence. With Hycelins' help, Dan Feng finally manages to locate the Trailblazer, and together the two make ready to confront Evernight. After bidding farewell to Hycelins and Casterus, who used their powers to protect the Trailblazer's soul, the two head back into the vortex of remembrance. Meanwhile, Black Swan, who had become Evernight's prisoner, was also led into this vortex, which was the tomb of the Nameless Titan, showing her the role remembrance played in Inforius. She tells Black Swan that Fuli manipulated Cyrene into believing that Inforius had hope, that it could survive, when in reality, Fuli had sided with the destruction in his tug-of-war of the Aeons. Showing the Memo Snatcher's actions as proof, Evernight tells Black Swan that she will destroy the remembrance and create a flawless Inforius, using the Trailblazer's memories. She also states that March 7th will never know peace as long as Fuli and the Garden exists. Meanwhile, with the Trailblazer and Dan Heng, they also enter the tomb, and witness countless Cyrenes enter and die, each one telling a tale through As I've Written to an unknown figure. When they finally make it to Evernight, she tells them that Cyrene's actions were futile and useless, fantasies the remembrance had planted into her head. There was no 13th Titan anymore. The new spore, Demiurge, had died long ago. Evernight wants to cooperate with Dan Heng and the Trailblazer to create her flawless Inforius, but after being rejected, Evernight sets a powerful Ichor Memor-Sprite upon them. After defeating the Ichor Memor-Sprite, Evernight was prepared to use her powers again, but just as the situation went critical, Cyrene as Mem appears with more oddly colored metal sprites. She tells the Trailblazer to take a photo of Evernight, and after they do, Evernight is sent into a light cone of some of her memories. It is there she finds March 7th, and after a long heart-to-heart, March manages to convince Evernight to step aside from now, and retreat back into March 7th's shadow. With the trio reunited, along with Cyrene, they finally kickstart Era Nova, offering up the core flames one by one. With the spirits of their comrades of the Flame Chase journey at their side, the core flames light up the wall of the tomb, and Era Nova begins in earnest. From the livestream and the story, the final battle against Iron Tomb won't just involve us. It will involve outside parties like the Xianzhou as well, as they make their move against the Ward Ravager. Not only that, but it seems like not everything will go the way we want it. Will we say a permanent farewell to the Chrysos heirs? We'll have to find out. I predict this may be the last time we'll see them for a long time. You have to remember, Inforius is still a simulation at the end of the day. And if we kill Iron Tomb, the simulation dies with it. Thanks for watching.